right. Welcome back to X-Rays Podcast. I'm your host, Tavares X. And tonight, basically, we'll be covering a trip that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad took over to Mecca, the holy city of Mecca in Arabia. And he wrote a letter back to the believers, just detailing his trip or what have you. So we just want to cover this trip because some people are under misconception that if you take a trip over to the east, you are now going in the Orthodox direction and changing faiths and the belief system that the messenger put in place. But as we see here in his own words, that this is allowed and even encouraged to take trips to the holy city of Mecca and partake in the rituals there. So we're just going to read off a letter. Let me start off real quick. I pray in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Greet the audience with the greeting words of peace and paradise. Assalamu alaikum. And this right here, this letter is reprinted from a magazine called Salam. It was like a magazine, I guess, that the nation did. It wasn't in regular circulation, I don't believe, but they did do a magazine. And this came out in July of 1960. July of 1960, right? This is a reprint. You can find it on Muhammad Speaks website for those interested. It starts off, Messenger Elijah Muhammad's Pilgrimage to Mecca by Elijah Muhammad, reprinted from Salam, July 1960. This I'll never forget. On my arrival in Jeddah, Arabia, December 23rd, 1959, it was almost a necessity that I go to Mecca. The next day was Thursday, December 24th, 1959, and the authorities made ready a car to take me and two my sons over little 40-mile distance from Jeddah to that ancient city, which is the glory of the Muslim world of Islam. It is the only city on our planet that is divinely protected and made sacred and inviolable almost, surrounded with black hills of stone and sand. We were dressed in what is called ihram, which consists of two sheets of flesh towel-like material, one to cover the upper part of the body, leaving the right arm exposed, and the other one covered the lower part of the body. We also wore a pair of sandal-like slippers. So right here, the messenger is dressed in the garb in the Eastern world. You know, the traditional Eastern garb that everyone goes when they make the pilgrimage over to Mecca. So he goes on to say, these were the only clothes that we wore from Jeddah to Mecca. Washed hands and faces on our arrival. We were taken to a hotel where we washed our faces and hands again, and a guide was brought to us. He was an old man, tall and very slender. He had been informed of me, and he took me by the hand like a father leading his child. As we began walking from the hotel to the sacred mosque of Islam, he made us recite after him in Arabic the prayers and some verses from the Holy Quran every step of the way. On entering that holy and magnificent place, he proceeded with us to the court where stands the Kaba and the prophetic sign, the black stone that the builders rejected, placed in one corner of that great black veiled monument that stands in a circle. Wow. So again, he's just unfolding the scenery and describing what took place. So he goes on to say 7 circles around the Kaba. The Kaba, for those unaware, the Kaba is an ancient house. It's an ancient house. It's a building structure in the holy city of Mecca, built there in the desert. And according to tradition, they say Abraham and his son Ishmael constructed this structure. They ones who put it together. So it's that ancient. Um, and in it, it has a stone there, and this building is like draped over like a black veil, and it has a stone in the corner of the building that how can I say it? It's a sacred stone, and it's a sign. It serves as a sign to the last messenger. And some people call the Kaba, the house of God, the house of Allah. Like, so it's very sacred to Muslims and pilgrims that travel there. But anyway, it goes on to say, 7 circles around Kaaba. Our guide made us remove our sandals before circling it, and they were left outside with an old Muslim sister. Then we began making the 7 circles around the Kaaba, repeating prayers at every step of the way, and stopping at 2 of its corners on every trip around, raising our hands toward it while repeating a prayer and then saying Allahu Akbar, which means Allah is the greatest. So there you have the messenger reciting prayers with the Muslim world there, the Orthodox Muslim world, right there in Mecca. So it goes on to say, thousands of Muslims in court. There were between 5 and 10,000 Muslims inside the court of the mosque. Such a prayer service I have never witnessed before, being with these thousands of sincere worshipers of God. I gotta stop there. The messenger referred to them as sincere worshipers of God. And he's there over in the east. I don't see where he abandoned the teachings that Master Muhammad gave them for the Orthodox. He didn't do that, but he's also referring to them as sincere worshipers, meaning that the Orthodox are his brothers in the faith, even though they may not have the same understanding of the Quran. Their understanding of the Quran differs from ours and the messenger, but yet the messenger still showed them respect, as we see, called them sincere worshipers, right? So he goes on to say, the messenger says, his religion and Muhammad, his prophet. On encircling it for the last time, the pilgrim makers asked to kiss the black stone. There before my eyes were many hands of pilgrims trying to reach for that stone. And he goes on to say, this I'll never forget. After circling the Kaaba 7 times and saying prayers, our guide then made us go and make the 7 runs between the hills of Safa and Marwa. He never let my hand go, except to raise his hand in prayer. I cannot forget it. I will not ever forget Allah for blessing me to make the pilgrimage, and for my faithful followers in America, some of them who may never be fortunate to make such a pilgrimage, divided their wealth to make it possible for me and those whom I chose to make this never to be forgotten pilgrimage. May Allah forever bless them. That's the end of the letter right there. But just that last paragraph basically expresses his gratitude. His gratitude for one, making the trip and experiencing it, but also for the believers that gave charity, that he will be able to go and his entourage and bring them over there to experience it. And he said, some of us may never even make that trip. So he's thankful that we blessed him to go. And he also said he would never forget it. It would never be forgotten. So, I mean, this is a heartfelt letter, and it shows the messenger's true feelings of the places that we traveled there to, or that they traveled there to in Mecca. So here we have the messenger expressing his heartfelt gratitude for taking this trip over to the east and experiencing it with the Orthodox Muslims and going through the rituals and everything that all pilgrims take part in. So he mentioned running through the hills, running through through the hill because that's part of the ritual there. And he mentioned he mentioned that earlier in the letter, how he went to and fro these hills, Marwa and Safa, and it's just a ritual that all Muslims do. And I just wanted to point that out because a lot of us are under the misconception that because the messenger doesn't share the same understanding with the Orthodox world, that everything of their world is null and void and should be avoided. That's a false idea. Sometimes we go too far, we go to extremes, and the best place is to stay in the middle, as I always like to mention. Stay in the middle. I think that's words of wisdom. So the middle ground is the rituals have meaning. They have meaning and they have value. Even though we're at the end of these signs now, we are the fulfillment of these signs. But even being the fulfillment of these signs, it is good that we know the rituals. We have an understanding of what they're pointing to, which is even greater revelation, than many others in the Muslim world, from our perspective at least. They may differ and have a different understanding. Of course, that is their right to. People will see things differently based on their frame of thinking. But that doesn't mean that we're enemies and that we should avoid this system that Allah put in place for us. This is given to the whole Islamic world to partake in, regardless of the degree of understanding we have on these rituals. We should partake in them because they all point to a sign. Like, as Muslims, we can all agree that these rituals point to a sign. So that is the beauty of it, and that's why you see the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan take these trips to Mecca and encourage us as his believers and followers to take these trips and partake in these rituals because they have meaning. Allah put them in place for a reason. So we don't want to discard the entire Orthodox world and say it's not necessary and it's leading us astray and away from Allah. No, sir. No, sir. No, ma'am. Because these rituals were not made by the Orthodox. We have to always keep in mind they were given to the Orthodox by Allah. Right? So I just wanted to point that out. This will be a quick video, and for all those interested, you could weigh it out for yourself to see if it's misleading to partake in these rituals according to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So again, if you like to read the article for yourself, it's on the website of Muhammad Speaks. And if you would like to discuss anything in the comment section, just drop a comment, or if you have a question, we can add on to this discussion. If you like it, this type of content, share it to somebody you think it will be helpful to, and like and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to keep bringing you more and more content of this nature. Greet you as I came in peace. Wassalamu alaikum. May Allah guide us all to the light of understanding.